Ruth Maguire, followed by Margaret Mitchell.
Crimes driven by hatred and prejudice have deep social consequences, not just the physical and psychological damage to the victim of the crime, but also to the group the victim belongs to and our wider community as a whole. As parliamentarians, we have a duty to work together to ensure that we do our utmost to protect those who are most vulnerable and targeted by hate so they can live their lives freely. The volume of interest and engagement with this bill from such diverse stakeholders has reflected not only the importance of this matter, but also the importance of the cross-party committee and bill process as a whole. Presiding Officer, I'm very grateful to the Justice Committee for all their work at stage one, and would also commend the Cabinet Secretary for his approach in listening to concerns raised and acting on them. I think that having the debate in advance of stage one was extremely helpful in that regard, and I appreciate that the Scottish Government is accepting the overwhelming majority of the Justice Committee's recommendations, including strengthening protection for freedom of expression provisions, ensuring the test of the term abusive in the bill as an objective test, and removing Section 5 from the bill which dealt with possession of inflammatory materials. While doing everything we can to ensure Scotland is a place where there's zero tolerance of hate crime, we must ensure that we strike the right balance between respecting, protecting and upholding all rights, including free speech. Freedom of speech, of course, carries with it duties and responsibilities and can be legitimately subject to conditions, restrictions or penalties in the interests of, amongst other things, public safety and the prevention of disorder or crime. This bill cannot and does not prevent people expressing controversial, challenging or offensive views, nor should it seek to stifle criticism or rigorous debate in any way. The bill includes some explicit provisions on freedom of expression. However, the bill's provisions are required to be interpreted in accordance with the European Convention of Human Rights anyway. The ECHR guarantees all of us the right to protest and to protest or express views, even if they shock, offend or disturb others. And I would acknowledge Rhoda Grant's points about whether we should have to rely on that for judgments. I welcome the Scottish Government's movement around stirring up and noted the positive reception given to that by many organisations who were initially concerned. Lisa Clark from Scottish Pen states, the Cabinet Secretary's amendment to focus on the requirement to prove intention to stir up hatred is welcomed and has eased our anxieties about the potential for a chilling effect on writers. Presiding Officer, I want to talk about misogyny, an area which is not covered by the bill but does nonetheless require urgent attention. The Cabinet Secretary highlighted the impact hate crime has on the individuals targeted and their wider group. And the impact on the lives of women and girls of misogyny should not be underestimated. We are, of course, over 50% of the population, so women and girls experiencing misogyny make up a sizable proportion of our citizens. Reflecting on the evidence provided to the Justice Committee, I agree with them that it's wise to wait until the working group on misogynistic harassment has reported before Parliament considers legislating to add sex as a hate crime characteristic. This is undoubtedly a complex matter, and there are many differing views around how to best approach it from a criminal justice perspective. There's no single definition in law which is commonly used in a criminal context to encapsulate the breadths of behaviours which come under that umbrella term of misogyny. Evidence from Engender around international examples concluded that looking to other states and at current work on violence against women and criminal justice systems in Scotland and Europe, that not only would a sex aggravator do nothing to make women safer, but it may also have unintended and harmful consequences. I understand why women, as Engender were, would be instinctively drawn to a sex aggravator. I certainly was, but it's crucial that we legislate in a way that best protects women and girls. And at the moment, it looks like this is not the way to go. We will, of course, have to wait to see what the working group concludes. The appointment of Baroness Kennedy and the Scottish Government commitment in principle to develop a standalone offence of misogynistic harassment is welcome. And I acknowledge that it will be up to the Chair to agree the overall time scale to deliver what's being asked of them. I would, however, like to press the Cabinet Secretary a little to say more on that front. I think at a time when misogyny feels like it's at epidemic levels, it would be helpful to women and girls in Scotland to hear the Government reaffirm that misogyny is taken just as seriously as other hate crimes, and effective action will be taken as soon as possible. In Baroness Kennedy's own words, the law has often failed to provide adequate remedies and justice for the harassment, assault and sexual violence experienced by women. Women have had to fight hard to properly criminalise such behaviour. The everyday abuse of women too often involves verbal degradation of the darkest and most threatening crime. Presiding Officer, confronting all hate crime is central to building the safer, stronger and inclusive Scotland we all want to see. I'll be proud to support this at stage 1 tonight. Thank you.